Have you ever shared a profound thought only to watch everyone's eyes glaze over? Or felt that invisible wall rise between you and others the moment you pushed a conversation beyond the surface? That feeling of intellectual isolation isn't just in your head. It's the unspoken burden of the deep thinker. Before we dive into this fascinating psychological journey, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. I'm creating regular content exploring the hidden patterns of human psychology that most people miss. Hit that subscribe button if you're tired of surface-level conversations and crave intellectual depth. Now, let's begin. Throughout history, our most brilliant minds weren't celebrated. They were silenced. Socrates was poisoned. Galileo was imprisoned. Tesla died alone and penniless. Not because they were wrong, but because they were right in ways that made others uncomfortable. The mirror that no one wants to look into. Here's the fascinating psychological truth. When you stand next to someone physically stronger, you don't necessarily feel weak. You might even admire them. When you meet someone wealthier, you might feel envy, but not personal inadequacy. But when you encounter someone intellectually deeper, something strange happens. Their very presence becomes a mirror reflecting others' mental limitations, and people rarely forgive that. Neuroscientists have discovered something remarkable. When people feel intellectually outmatched, their amygdala, the brain's fear center, activates as if facing a physical threat. Think about that. Deep thinking doesn't just make people uncomfortable, it triggers their survival instincts. Why? Because unlike physical strength or wealth, intelligence strikes at our very identity. We define ourselves by our thoughts and beliefs. When someone questions what we take for granted, it feels like an attack on our core self. The tribal brain in a thinking world. For most of human history, survival depended not on being the smartest person in the cave, but on being accepted by the tribe. Rejection meant death. This ancient wiring still runs through our modern brains. When a deep thinker enters a social setting, they unknowingly disrupt this tribal balance. Their presence challenges existing ideas and group dynamics, triggering defense mechanisms designed for a world where social harmony meant survival. This explains why deep conversations flourish in private but die in groups. One-on-one, people feel less threatened. In groups, social status becomes paramount, and no one wants to appear intellectually outshined. What society actually rewards? Look closely at who gains the most social currency today. Is it the deep thinkers, or those who project absolute certainty despite shallow understanding? Studies consistently show that confidence is valued over depth. Charismatic but simplistic thinkers gain more followers than nuanced intellectuals. This isn't new. Schopenhauer observed this centuries ago. Our digital landscape has only amplified this effect. Algorithms favor emotional engagement over intellectual depth. Viral content spreads not because it's profound, but because it's simple, catchy, and often misleadingly straightforward. The deep thinker who refuses to compress complex ideas into bite-sized, emotionally charged content finds themselves increasingly marginalized in a world that values entertainment over enlightenment. Comfort over truth. The human default. Why does society resist intellectual depth so persistently? Because our brains are wired for cognitive ease, the preference for simple, familiar information that requires less mental energy. From childhood, we're conditioned to value certainty over questions. Schools reward memorization over critical thinking. Workplaces promote those who maintain systems rather than those who challenge them. Politics elevates those who offer simple answers to complex problems. This creates a painful paradox for deep thinkers. The more you understand, the less you can ignore. The more you see the world clearly, the more disconnected you become from those who prefer comfortable illusions. Finding your intellectual tribe. If you've ever felt that sense of isolation from thinking too deeply, know this: you are in extraordinary company. Every great thinker throughout history walked this lonely path before you. Schopenhauer, who understood this isolation better than most, didn't just diagnose the problem, he offered solutions. Rather than fighting against this reality, embrace strategic solitude. Use your alone time not as punishment, but as privilege, for creation, reflection, and deeper understanding. Don't waste your deepest insights on those who aren't ready for them. Observe society, learn its patterns, and choose your words carefully. Not everyone deserves access to your intellectual depth. Most importantly, find your intellectual family. They exist. Those rare minds who light up at the same questions that fascinate you. They might be found in books, in specialized communities, or in unexpected corners of your life. One meaningful connection with a fellow deep thinker provides more nourishment than 1,000 shallow interactions. Intelligence is a double-edged sword, a source of both clarity and isolation. While it allows you to see reality more clearly, it distances you from those who prefer illusions. Society doesn't fear intelligence itself. It fears what intelligence reveals. Deep thinkers aren't rejected because they're wrong. They're rejected because they're right too soon. But remember this: while society rarely embraces deep thinkers in their time, it is only through deep thinking that humanity progresses. Socrates was executed, but his ideas shaped Western civilization. Tesla died in obscurity, but his visions power our modern world. The next time you feel that wall of isolation rising as you share a complex thought, remember, you're not broken for seeing the world as it is. You're carrying the torch that has illuminated human progress across centuries. It's a lonely path, but it's the only one worth walking. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments. Have you ever felt isolated for thinking too deeply? Let's build a community where depth isn't just tolerated, it's celebrated. And if you want to explore more insights from history's greatest minds, subscribe to join us on this journey. For the deep thinkers watching, you are not alone.